Well, good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the farm. I'm here with Blueberry. This is our old farm truck. It's a Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD, and it's seen some love. But recently, I was at a town and my wife called over. She said, I went to move the truck, go to put it in park, couldn't get it in park. Suddenly, all I had was neutral. Let's have a look. You turn the key to the on position, and you can see, like, there's just nothing happening there. If you look at the actual gear indicator, it just stays in neutral no matter where we go. Nothing's happening. First thing I did is I crawled underneath here. You can take this whole panel right off and get to where your steering column comes through. And right beside your steering column is where your shifter linkage attaches to your shifter cable. So crawl underneath there with a flashlight and manipulate the actual shifter controller, the arm there, and validate that yes, the linkage is intact and the cable appears to be moving inside the cab. Once I know that, it's time to go underneath. So this is where things get a little sticky. If you're a skinny fat guy like me, you can get your head under there, but then, and maybe your chest, but the cinnamon buns maybe don't get under there quite so easy. But anyways, right about here, where the D is, you want to go right underneath there, and it's tough to see, but that's where the end of your shifter cable is and the linkage that attaches directly to your transmission. There's a plastic grommet on there, and that grommet can weaken over time, get dry, get rock chips, all that kind of stuff, break down, and eventually that plastic grommet pops off of the arm, and hey, everything is neutral. You're having a fantastic day. So what you got to do here, obviously we're stuck in neutral, we're on uneven ground. Let's chalk the wheels. I got a jack under there already. We're going to get that lifted up so a guy can crawl underneath there, put some jack stands in so it's everything safe and secure, and then we'll go have a look at it. So if you've had this problem and you're in a precarious spot, what you can do is you can crawl underneath there and put a zip tie on. Now that's not gonna be a solution. That's not even what I would call a temporary fix. That's literally a get it from here out onto level ground and then park it and work on it from there. But essentially, if you're on the side of a cliff or wherever and you just need to get it out of that precarious spot, you can get a zip tie on there and get it somewhere more sensible. Now, if you're not equipped to deal with this yourself, you're going to call a tow truck. Maybe you got roadside assistance, maybe you don't. You could be looking at $200 to $500, depending on how far your dealership or your mechanic shop is away. So that's a huge expense. Once you get it to that dealership, they're going to tell you you can't buy that plastic grommet. And they're not entirely incorrect. So they're going to sell you the whole throttle cable. That whole throttle cable is a few $100, right? If you go on Amazon, you can get an actual plastic grommet kit that's got some stuff that fits pretty close, and you might need to do a little bit of, stuff with the nail file just to get it to pop in there perfectly, but it's $10, right? And you can get it shipped right to your door within a couple of days. So if you can afford to leave your truck parked here, that's great, because it's going to the shop. They're probably not looking at it for a week, and they're going to charge you, by the time you're done, you could be close to $1,000. Let's do it for $10. Up we go. All right, so we got our truck off the ground. We don't need it 40 miles off the ground, but you do need it so that the old cinnamon bun container can get underneath that running board and underneath the frame rail right here. So we'll get some jack stands in. That way nobody gets trapped right here. That'd be a bad day. This is what we're talking about right here. You can see this is your shifter cable. And there's that little plastic grommet in there, just there. That little plastic grommet is supposed to snap on that right there, which is your gear shifter, your gear selector. Now, when you come under here, you can see, it's a farm truck. So there's dirt, there's oil, there's cow shit, there's all kinds of stuff under here. Make sure you've got safety glasses on and unlike myself, keep your mouth shut, because all of that business would be a bad day. But what we're going to do here, I'm just looking at this and I'm not seeing any actual damage to here, but you see the white, well, it's kind of orangey yellow now, but where that little bushing is, or grommet, whatever you want to call it, that's what cracks and degrades. So that's the piece that you're going to try to order off the internet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the link to that in the description of this video. And like I said, it's like, I think it's like 10 bucks on Amazon. Way cheaper than a tow truck. But anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to just essentially snap this back onto here. Now, this is where it gets real dicey. You're going to want to make sure your wheels are chalked, because you're going to try to take this all to neutral. And if you have to manipulate this at all this truck could be sitting on top of you, and that would be a real bad day. So make sure everything's secure before you go ahead and do this. So you can see on this arm where it's grooved a little bit, and you can see the same in here where that's going to fit right on there. And we're just going to snap it in, and then Bob's your uncle. We're back in drive. Now that's fortunate for me that that plastic piece hasn't actually broken, but I mean, I can see the writing on the wall there. Eventually I'm going to be at the feed store, and that's going to come piling up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to Amazon, I'm going to order that part, and I'm going to get it shipped and on the road here. And then maybe on the weekend here, I can crawl back under here and get it fixed properly. But for now, hey, I can move the truck finally. No more neutral. Well, at least one neutral only. As I was saying earlier though, if you're in a situation where this is completely degraded, broke right in half, what you can do is you can slip this over top and just zip tie those two pieces together. And that's just going to get you, again, back onto level ground, pull into the shop, up on some jack stands, wherever it is you need to be to work on it more effectively and more efficiently than out here between the grain shed and the sea can. Anyways, before I go ahead and call this thing fixed, I'm going to leave the phone underneath the truck. I'm going to climb in the cab, and we're going to rock everything back, and we'll make sure everything's functioning before I go ahead and move the truck. I think the saying is good enough for the girls I go out with, but I'm married, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it lasts. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful, and hopefully it got you out of a bind at not too great of an expense. If it did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends. For now, I'm going to go in and fetch up a cup of tea. So I'll let you go for now. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. We'll see you tomorrow.